What is going on, guys? Welcome to another video on my channel, Hairliciously. If you guys are new, please make sure to subscribe so that you guys are updated on my second hair transplant journey progress, as well as video topics covering current hair loss treatments in the pipelines. If you guys haven't done so, please make sure to visit my website at hairliciously.com, where you guys can take a look at some of the current hair loss treatment regimen that I use on a daily basis. But today's video, as you guys can tell, I did get a haircut yesterday. I went to my local barber and I asked her to cut my hair short, because the long hair that I had was kind of giving me more of like a disheveled look, and I really couldn't do anything as far as styling, and it didn't really look good because, you know, I didn't really have that density needed to go ahead and put down the hairs right now. So I told her to go ahead and cut down my hair short, but not short enough to the point where you guys are actually going to be able to see the implanted grafts that are growing in. So as you guys can tell, I am super up close to my camera and under harsh light, and I'm actually at day 70, so I might as well give you guys an update on day 70. So here's how it looks. This is my left temporal side, and as you guys can tell, a lot of the hairs are growing in, so I'm pretty happy for that. There is still a little bit of redness, as you guys can tell, based on these areas here, but over time it's gonna go ahead and subside, so I'm not too worried about that. Here is the frontal portion of the hairline. Now, there are certain areas where the grafts obviously need to fill in. Some of the grafts actually have not even come out of the scalp. So as the months go by, you guys will start seeing more hairs that are gonna sprout. And here is the right temporal side and the right temporal points. So I'm really happy with how the design of this temporal point here came out. There's a lot of good added density. And also in the frontal hairline, there's a lot of the density that were reinforced into my existing hairline and also from the first hair transplant. So I'm really looking forward to the results. Same thing here, as you guys can see, there's a lot of the grafts that are growing in. Let me also give you guys a view of the donor zone. I know that a lot of you guys have been asking me, but I did kind of cut the back of my head a little bit shorter so that it might be able to show some of the visible scars. So let me show you guys how the back looks like. So here's the side and here's the back. So obviously there are scars. I had 2 hair transplants. The first one was 1,700 grafts, and then the second one was a little bit over 1,800. So a total of 3,500 grafts that were extracted and implanted. So obviously you guys will be able to see scars depending on what length of the hairs. But like I said, I did plan on getting SMP later this year. So I am going to hopefully be able to disguise the SMP and then cut my hair short. But I'm going to be buzzing down my hair probably in the next few months once the grafts fully grow out, so that you guys can get a better view of how the hairs or actually the overall scalp is going to look like in the back and also in the front. But this is pretty much it for day number 70. So as you guys can tell from the title, I will be back on Finasteride. I know that a lot of you guys are like, Aaron, like, what is wrong with you? Why are you going back and forth? Why are you taking it and stopping it, taking and stopping it? Freaking make up your mind. Let me explain. So the first time when I had my hair transplant, I started taking Finasteride. I took Finasteride because we know that it actually inhibits the conversion of testosterone into DHT, which is the main culprit for hair loss. And it's the only medication right now that is able to block DHT. So I started taking it for a few months, and then not knowing anything, I didn't do any research. I didn't, look into the effects of what can actually happen. And when I read these studies and when I went on, these different forums, post-Finasteride syndrome, I was like, holy crap, it can actually cause sexual dysfunction. It can cause issues with, libido, your sperm, brain fog, everything like that. So I stopped because I was afraid. I was afraid of having the same side effects that other people were claiming to have. So I stopped taking it for a few months, and then I got back on it. And I got back on it because I did research. I read into a lot of studies. I talked to other people that, did take Finasteride. I spoke to different doctors. And for the majority of the people, you are not going to have any side effects. And even if you do, it's actually going to be able to reverse and go back to how you were before. So I started taking it, and then I've been taking it. I didn't have any side effects. I was able to maintain the hairs that I did have. And luckily, I didn't have any hair fall during the time that I was taking Finasteride. So after I've been taking it for probably about a year and a half, I stopped taking it again because I wanted to conceive with my wife. So I stopped, and a lot of you guys were like, oh my God, you know, like, why are you stopping? And I told them it's because I'm trying to have a baby. I don't want there to be any possibility of having any issues with, you know, fertility or anything like that. So I stopped taking it for a few months, and guess what? I am back on it, and you guys know exactly what that means. Yes, my wife is pregnant. So let me show you guys. We actually went to the OBGYN a couple days ago, and they printed out this ultrasound photo right here. So my wife is actually around week 7, and the baby's growing very healthy. It has a strong heartbeat. And so I'm pretty happy for that. I'm gonna be a dad in a few months. And that's one of the main reasons why I am back on Finasteride, because I don't have to worry about having Finasteride in my system and trying to conceive with my wife and worrying about the possibility that Finasteride is somewhat going to negatively affect the fetus. There are no studies up to date that show that taking Finasteride is going to cause any abnormalities to the fetus or the baby. But you know, there's always that fear because there were some animal studies done that showed large amounts, and this is like large, huge amounts of Finasteride, I think hundreds of times larger than what the actual ingestion amount should be. And it did cause some of the side effects in animal studies. But to date, there are no known studies for humans and it being able to affect the fetus in a negative way. I think this is more of kind of like a psychological thing where I just didn't want anything to happen to my baby because, you know, truth be told, I'd rather go bald than have my kid suffer from, you know, any abnormalities during birth. I'd rather just be bald, not have to worry about that. But yeah, like I said, there are no known studies that show that there was defects in babies in men who are taking Finasteride. And even people like Ashton Kutcher, who actually was taking Finasteride, he actually was on it when he gave birth to his kid. So there hasn't been any issues. And a lot of people, believe it or not, actually take Finasteride and they conceive with their wife and there has not been any issues. So in my case, I just wanted to play it safe. I did feel like I did lose a little bit of ground when I stopped taking it in terms of the density, especially kind of like in the center area. But you know, overall, even after stopping taking Finasteride for a few months, I didn't have any issues in terms of like, you know, major hair loss. But I don't know why here, but I think some of the hairs fell out due to shock loss during my second hair transplant procedure. So hopefully once I start getting back on Finasteride, it is going to reinforce the density and maintain the hairs that I have right now. So here is the prescription that I got a couple days ago. This is the Finasteride that I'm taking. I'm not taking Propecia because it's a brand and I don't want to pay, you know, like 3 to 4 times more for the actual drug when you can get generics for a fraction of the price. This one here is, the company's called Accord, and it's 1 milligram Finasteride. I think I'm gonna be taking maybe 1 milligram every other day because if you guys were watching my previous video on the optimal range for Finasteride dosage, we know that Finasteride accumulates in the body. And so after doing my study, I think I'm gonna try taking 1 milligram of Finasteride every other day, but I shouldn't have any issues. And I'm planning on taking it later this week. So stay tuned for that. And I will also be continuing my series on Finasteride. I know that some of you guys wanted me to cover the topic of fertility, which would be relevant in my case and also for this topic. So I will be covering some of the topics relating to fertility. So the only thing that I did find about Finasteride and fertility is that it can actually reduce the size of the prostate, which is the point of taking Prosker 5 milligram of Finasteride, because it actually lowers the size of the prostate. It can actually also lower the sperm count. So if you guys are having issues with sperm volume, I think that you guys should consult with a doctor prior to taking Finasteride. But in my case, I don't have any issues like that. So I will actually be back on Finasteride relatively in a short time. So also in my next video, I will be covering my hair loss treatment regimen, which I will be talking about taking different types of supplements, microneedling, my Finasteride dosage, and other types of hair loss treatment regimens that I do on a daily and weekly basis so you guys can follow it. I know that a lot of you guys are just starting out taking you know, hair loss medications, and you guys are very curious on exactly what I do to maintain the hairs that I have. So please stay tuned for that. I'm also going to be talking about, you know, some of the ways or some of the things why I actually take these hair loss medications when I've had a hair transplant. A lot of people are under the misconception that just because you've had a hair transplant means that you're not going to have to take any hair loss medications, which isn't true, because even if I've had these hair transplants in the front, the hairs in the back are going to continue to go ahead and be afflicted with DHT and continue to fall out. The other thing is, a lot of you guys are asking me, why did I get a hair transplant when some of the hair loss treatments such as microneedling actually works in helping regrow hair. The thing is, you're actually removing DHT resistant hairs into the areas that you're balding. That's not going to be the case when you're microneedling. It's actually going to help promote hair growth and stimulate growth factors, but it's not going to, for the most part, have the density and the volume that a hair transplant is going to bring you. So if you guys are receding, it's going to be to the point where it's unlikely that you guys are going to be able to grow areas where you've already lost hair. So that's why you need hair transplants in that area. And then for the areas behind it, or for your native hairs, you want to reinforce that in conjunction with hair loss treatments such as minoxidil, microneedling, laser therapy, and supplements to be able to maintain and prevent further hair loss. So obviously, I'm going to be covering this in a different video, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys an overview of what that entails. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I'm very excited to be back on Finasteride. If you guys have any questions, please make sure to leave me some comments below, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Take care.